Hello friends, how are you today? I thought I'd make a video on a really interesting thing that's happening. The last video I made was about how Saturn is slowing everything down while it's been stationing direct. And stationing meaning that it hasn't moved forward yet, and it will be doing that on the 16th. So I'm recording this on Friday the 14th, so we've got a couple more days almost of this. And that timing is USA East Coast, right? That's when it's stationing direct. But interestingly, right, there has been huge movement in one particular area. And what is that? Well, after the election and in the last several days, we have seen President Trump do one action after another. It's like boom, 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 right? How could that be happening when Saturn is still stationing? Well, here's the secret. Basically, Saturn stationing direct affects that which is being focused on to build in the moment. Okay, and this is why I said that we have a window here, because the chaotic forces that are finding themselves at a loss of what to do at the moment, this is a tough time to start building something. So the reason that we're seeing so much occur, right, after the election by the president with all of these announcements, which looks like he's building his administration, but that's not what the energy is. That energy is Mercury, communication, right? He's actually communicating something that was built long ago, or that was built weeks, months, years. I don't really know how long that he's been working on these things. And so communications is actually fine in these energies. And let me explain that to you, because what I did was I looked at the chart of Saturn stationing. So it's stationed 5 hours before the Trump's announcement of his victory, okay, which was around, it was a little after 2 a.m. on the 6th. So 5 hours before that, on November 5th, Saturn stationed. And so that's the chart that I'm looking at when I talk about this. So essentially, what happened is that Mercury was at 4 degrees of Sagittarius. So Mercury in the 6th house, okay, because I used the houses for the location of the victory speech, which was in Palm Beach, Florida. And so Mercury was in the 6th house. So Mercury has work to do, okay? And all of Mercury's communications are going to be about forward looking relative to our lifestyle, to our health, to how we live. And this is all that you've seen. All the details of the appointments are communicating things about his strategies in these areas through the people that he's appointing. So you see how it's really about communications, about something that has already been built, as opposed to the need to develop a new strategy, put it in place, figure it out, put the pieces together, and step forward, step by step. Well, that is the part that's slowed down. So anyone trying to do something new around that right now is, hold on one sec here. I'm gonna need to put the do not disturb on. So let me give you the details of Mercury, and which gives us a window into the communications. First of all, Mercury was in a grand trine, which is very fortunate, and it was in a grand trine at the moment that Saturn stationed with Neptune and Mars. And Mercury was at the base of the grand trine, so it's at the base of the pyramid, it's at the foundation. And Mars was at 0 degrees of Leo. So this is affecting everyone, okay? Everyone really on the earth. Because 0 degrees of Leo essentially comprises all the degrees of Leo and Leo represents the individual. It also represents huge courage. It represents heart. So the communications also have, this energy behind them. And the vision, Mercury in Sagittarius for the future, has courage. It has heart. It has, concern or addressing the lives of all individuals. Technically on Earth, but definitely in the country. Now, at the top of the pyramid was Neptune at 27 degrees, okay? But within a degree of Mercury is the North Node at 5 of Aries. And so it's pretty close to Neptune, and it kind of supercharges both the action, right? Because the North Node is insatiable with whatever it's addressing. And as it's coming up on Neptune, these are spiritual topics. These are insights, but they're also delusions. So whether you want to go high or low, the North Node is super powering in this chart, in these energies. It's super powering the energy. Okay, my hair did something different today. I don't know. I don't normally part it on that side. It's so silly. Yeah, so, and the North Node is trine Mercury in the stationing chart. So, that also superpowers the communications by Mercury, because it's insatiable, right? The North Node just wants to keep going, keep going, keep going. My teacher says the North Node is very greedy energy. Like wherever energy it's indicating, it's just voracious about that. Okay, now let's talk about the moon. The moon is at 4 degrees of Capricorn in the stationing chart, which is a ruthless moon, according to my teacher. Again, moon in Capricorn, ruthless. And it's interesting because there is a ruthlessness, about these energies, isn't there? There's this is how it's going to be. And it doesn't come with a lot of overbearing force. It's just, I think it comes from inspiration. Yeah, that's, the best way to power that. But we get another clue here in that the moon is in the 7th house, which is all about, our relationships. So the moon at the same degree as Mercury, 4 degrees, it's about embodying these communications and then interrelating with other people around the meaning of them for you. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, that's what's up, And Venus is in the 7th house as well. So that's the core here. I meant to say a little earlier, but, Venus flavors that 7th house here with this stuff really matters to us. Whatever it is that you're focused on with your relationships, this really matters to you. And the contrast with who you are, like as you look at what's going on, what's being communicated, how you embody, and you contrast that with your deeply held beliefs, your deeply held values, or your superficially held beliefs and values, you're going to see a striking contrast. And it's interesting because, the moon in Capricorn is in the 7th house, but Venus in the 7th house is in Sagittarius. So we're very concerned about the future, right? The future. And we're embodying the moon, talking and communicating about it at different levels of emotion, depending on, your personal expression. But the moon in Capricorn, my teacher always tells me, is very cold, can be very cold, okay? And the other way that I like to see this is it's really about, rather than a coldness, it's really about you and your life, emphasizing that, rather than the idea of like doing for others, right? Which is an interesting position in the 7th house. So it's all about, how does this affect me? And then talking about it That's what it looks like to me. And you might be afraid of that, right? You might be afraid of that. You might be afraid of losing everything, or you might feel like you're gaining everything. You might be gaining everything. So there's, those are the wholeness of that energy, the two different ways of approaching it. So let me just take a look. The South Node is at 5 degrees of Libra, so it's sextile Mercury. So it's also in the 4th house of our homes, but it's on the cusp of the 5th house. And so what that means is that we care most about how we live this. How does this affect us at home, like in our day-to-day lives? And, the moon being at the same degree of Mercury emphasizes this. And with it on the cusp of the 5th house, it affects not just sort of the work-oriented nature of the 6th house, that Mercury's in. How do we live, work? How's our health? What's our lifestyle? But do we enjoy these things? Do we enjoy doing that? Do we like how things are rolling out, and how are our children affected? And, and there's potential for entrepreneurship here. There's the potential for, developing new businesses around a lot of the things that are going to be being announced. That's a house of entrepreneurship. So let's see here. Did I get everything? Let me just look. Boop, boop. Yeah. The only other thing I would add is that in the 6th house, where Mercury is sitting, the sun is on the cusp. And so what that means is these communications are, there's a lot of transparency about them, but they also are probably super, super insightful. Like it's just like bam to the core, to the heart of the matter. Isn't that exciting? So I wanted to explain to you this very special dynamic that's going on right now, and how you could look at it and go, well, building is slowed down, but how is all this stuff getting done? Well, the way it's getting done is it was already done. It's just now being communicated.